It actually works. I think I'm missing one thing.
I need you to, once she's ready, I want you to take a picture.
It works. Oh shit. So I wonder if it's actually going to pull music through them. Shit, I think we're good to go for when New World comes out.
Say again?
So I think we're good to go for when New World comes out.
I hope so.
I'm talking about for streaming. I'll be able to stream this whole thing.
My shirt.
I haven't streamed in a while, but yeah, hold on a second. I gotta take pictures apparently.
Oh, this is gonna be perfect.
So, do you prefer streaming on YouTube or have you tried Twitch?
I'm actually partnered on Twitch.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I haven't been partnered. I was. What's the one right before partner? I don't
Affiliate?
know what it's called. Yeah, I was affiliated. Didn't have enough concurrent viewers.
I haven't streamed in over a year and a half, so I don't even know if I'm still partnered with them. I had to sign a contract saying I'd do like a certain amount of time for streaming. Certain amount of
Oh, yeah,
time.
probably not.
Yeah. I wonder though if I go back on there, I'd still hold everything, my account, my followers, blah blah blah. Oh damn, I don't even know how many followers I have anymore.
I had like. I don't know. I really don't remember how many I had.
But I'm also trying to stay away from Twitch because my ex hangs out on there sometimes. So I don't feel like talking to her.
Did you just block her? Did you just block her?
She's like queen of making alt accounts.
Harassment.
Haha.
I said harassment.
No, just that's a path I don't want to go down again. Or, stream actually looks decent.
Did you post your link somewhere?
Yeah, I sent it to you on private message.
Oh, there it is. Are you sure you want to go outside of this? Yes, I want to.
Are you sure you want to go outside? No.
Okay.
I just sit on there like that.
This time. definitely gonna be good for this New World comes out. Choose. Start it out there. Oh. Is there no way out of this? What the fuck? Oh, there it is. Joker. Oh. stress test this, see how it does against going dungeons and shit. Jason, you there?
I are back.
Aha. Perfect. Can you subscribe real quick? I want to see if the pop-up
I did.
and everything works. Did?
I did.
Did anything pop
Mhm.
up on the screen?
And I clicked the bell.
And you clicked the bell. Oh,
Yeah, I want to receive all them notifications.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't remember seeing anything pop up when I clicked it. No.
Alright, I'm gonna have to.
Generally, nothing pops up when I do.
Alright, I'm gonna have to test it then. I have the whole notification stuff set up, but it may be still from Twitch, so it may not pop up on YouTube. Take a look.
Oh, I was hearing myself in background. I'm like, how am I hearing a loop of myself? Oh yeah, this is screen. I'm a dummy. Chef Boyardee.
Chef Boyardee, what's up? I, like,
I still can't believe Italian food tastes like a Chef Boyardee. And for any Italians out there, I went to Italy. I went to Civitavecchia. Well, it was Spain, I guess, but went to Italy, went to Rome, and I had lasagna, and it tasted like Chef Boyardee. No shit. So
just ordered anything and everything to go. Just brought it back to
Yeah.
the States and be like, yep. Somebody's
I wish,
lying,
but I
or
was-
somebody's telling the truth.
So it literally tasted like Chef Boyardee, and it was good. Don't get me wrong, it was good. But if I knew it was going to taste like Chef Boyardee, I would have got ravioli. Just saying.
You should have just brought Chef Boyardee with you.
The ship has it. The ship actually gets big cans of that shit and serves it.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Oh my god.
Yeah. they'll have. And if it's mid rats and they like run low of it, right? Because they're not going to cook more. If they run mid rats with it, they'll take, if it's like low and there's like no chunks in there for people to get, right? It's just sauce. They'll throw cheese in there to create lumps. So you have cheese lumps and it's. Oh man, you ever heard of macaroni and fuck it?
No.
Okay, macaroni and fuck it. Macaroni and fuck it is a legit dish. Look it up, you'll see it. It's basically macaroni noodles and Kraft singles slapped on, just thrown on top of it to melt. That's macaroni and fuck it. Not macaroni and cheese, macaroni and fuck it.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's little fucks given, like zero or
Zero fucks
very few.
given.
Yeah, it's ZFG mac and cheese.
Oh, I'm gonna have to order some.
I would not suggest it. It is some of the most malnourishing, like soul sucking mac and cheese you'll ever have.
Oh,
You're like, oh, and it's not mixed in. I'm talking like you can still see the squares.
is that
Like
is it weird that it
yeah,
makes
you
me want to order even more? It's soul sucking. Like, oh my god, how long it's been?
like you have just macaroni noodles, straight up white noodles, pale whatever, noodles, and then you see where they tossed the squares of cheese on top of the noodles and let it just kind of melt.
Oh,
Yeah. And then they go, you're like, do you have anything else? And they're like, yeah, nothing. Oh, okay. my bad. Guess I have to eat this. Yeah, the CSs on the ship don't give a shit.
it's because they know you're not gonna fuck with them. They handle who eats.
That's okay. I also handled their computer accounts, so they couldn't order shit unless I got something out of it.
There's the 3 people you don't fuck with in the military: CS,
You know what's funny?
IT, and Gorman.
See, well, that's just it. You don't fuck with anybody really, because let's face it. You like cold showers? Don't fuck with the engineers.
Ah,
Yeah. Oh yeah. You don't. Everybody works together, and everybody fails to realize it. Like the engineers keep your water running, right? They keep the ship running. If they don't want to go somewhere, they just up and just down, and they just wait for a little bit. If you don't mess with the HTs, hey man, the crappers broke down at berthing, and we can't get Yeah, we'll get to it. Meanwhile, you can't. You have to leave your berthing to go to somebody else's berthing to take a shit.
see,
Um,
I I never got
Oh
to
yeah.
go on a ship. Like they offered
no?
it, and I was like, nah, I'm good.
It's awesome. I love being underway. I actually love being underway. It's good. It's like you never find a better place to view the stars. If you're like an outdoor person and you like to go looking at the stars, there's no better place. Like you can
Touche.
see the Milky Way. Yeah, you can see the Milky Way with your naked eye. It's not even a joke.
Touche on that part then.
What was that movie? It was fairly recent. Now it's probably more like, fuck, it's probably 10 years old now. But where they were blue, they went to another planet. A marine had no legs.
Avatar?
Avatar, yeah. So imagine, you remember when he goes to the top of the tree and then like turns off the light?
Right. And everything lit
and
up.
he sees all the stars. Yeah. That's basically what happens to the night sky underway. There's no clouds. There's no light pollution. You can see everything. Shooting stars are easy to see, and you see them more often than you think you'd see them. It's just you get it where there's no moon. Like I've seen it so dark. It's been so dark that you can't see your hand in front of your face. Like there's when it's a new moon or there's clouds out, and when there's clouds out, you can't see shit. Your eyes don't adjust for anything because there's nothing to adjust to. Likewise, it's like daylight when the moon's out because the moon is so bright, and there's no clouds, and you see the reflection off the ocean. It basically lights up the whole thing like daytime almost. I've seen the Northern Lights. Having gone to Norway, I've seen.
How are the Northern Lights? That's still one thing I want to see.
They are everything that everybody says they are. They are awesome. They're just this weird, mesmerizing set of lights, and they're just as vibrant as everybody says, as everything you've seen. And it's, yeah. The thing is, though, is they come and go very quickly depending on the day and where you're at. Like there's a whole tracker online. You can actually see where it says, okay, if you're at this area, if you're in this area, you can expect to see them on this day between these times, and they may or may not be vibrant, and they'll tell you all this stuff. And they're fairly accurate that way.
You said it's a tracker that has that?
Yeah, it's not like a weather system, but if you think about it, if you track it like that, it's kind of what it is. That's kind of what it reminds me of. But yeah, there's a website to show where they're going to be.
And it's Aurora Borealis is basically solar flares, isn't it? Or it's like a reflection.
It's I want to say it's a gas reaction in the atmosphere when radiation hits it. Yeah.
That's legit. Yeah.
So like when you get a solar flare, they're really prominent. My wife wants me to make this 3D topographical map, and I just can't figure it out. It's whipping my ass.
Topical map of what?
Of the local water, the local bayou over here for a friend of ours that she works with, and something to basically hang on the wall, make it, this is where he works, and he basically runs the marina out here. So she wants a topographical map of the marina, and I have a Glowforge, and I see all these people making these things, but I cannot. It's just whooping my ass. Like I'm looking for walkthroughs. I just need somebody who knows how to do it to show me how they do it, and I can keep doing it again.
Is there a site for it? Where you
There's a bunch of sites.
Where you can actually make the map just off the location?
No, that's just it. Like, so you go through and you get the way I've gathered it is you go through, you find a topographical map, which is not hard to find most times, but it's getting the data from the topographical map into different layers. Like you have to go through, and it's a painstaking process where you go through and put those like a set, like you know how topographical maps are, where there's a set of rings basically,
showing the different depths and
right, exactly. Areas. Now imagine taking each ring and getting rid of the rest, just one ring at a time, getting rid of the rest, putting it on a layer so that you can cut that layer out. and then you cut all these different layers out and stack them on top of each other, and there's your 3D map, right?
Right.
So it's the art of getting the map to the physical product that I have no idea. I can get the map, no problem.
But
I don't have the
making it
software to go
3D.
through and yeah. Like I have Illustrator, I have the Adobe Creative Suite, I have all that. I'm fairly adept with it, like beginner adept, like very beginner adept. But like I can create a bunch of stuff on my Glowforge. Now we have a Cricut I got for my wife for her birthday a couple days ago, and so we have all this gear and we have the software. I just haven't caught up to the knowledge of how to make this shit happen. Because I know where to find maps. That's easy. I know how to download maps. That's easy. But getting it from that data, which I don't even know, like I got a plugin for Illustrator for ArcGIS, which is a software suite that does with this stuff. But I don't know if I have to have a software account with them to download a map from them. Because if I could afford ArcGIS, as far as I can see, that's just like, okay, well here you go, boom, done. But that's expensive shit. Like the cheapest package I think you can get is like $500 a year.
Why don't
and
you just
it goes
go
up to
on
like
Reddit? I literally find everything that is usually subscription based or like you have to pay for. I just go on Reddit and find it as a like the downloadable, just without having to pay for it. So far, so good with no viruses.
Reddit.com.
Yep. Reddit usually has everything, and if I can't find it on there, I'll go into the dark web and search around.
I don't even know how to get there. I know about it. I've never been there. I don't even know how to get to it.
What, deep web?
Yeah.
Well, looks like I'm going to get banned the first day I start streaming, but I'll tell you how to do it.
No, not over here.
No, it's completely legal. There's no like backdoor hacking shit you have to do. It's literally just grabbing the Tor network or downloading Tor network, downloading a VPN, and then I mean, if you want to use a VM for it, you can. If not, you can just do the basics, but mostly Tor has its own backend system where you're pretty much safe. Just don't put any of your personal information on.
Of course not. Because then it's for sale.
Alright. It's on PC.
We'll see about this.
Alright. It's dead. What the f just happened?
Did you fail in your healing duties?
No. Oh, okay. So the tank DC'd, and then someone else died. I don't even know where he's at. I'm about to get wrecked here. Work STO.
The center mouse click on the new mouse is so much easier and nicer than the old mouse I had because it was basically broken. So now being able to just click on it like I want and actually open up like a new tab easily, so nice.
Oh, you're getting used to your Naga?
Yeah. Like I didn't realize how sensitive this thing can be, and then you just dial it down and you're like, oh, that's better. You know, I don't have a light speed friggin', you know, synapse system in my body, so well, I guess technically you do, but
Downloaded the Razer software?
yeah. So I can program stuff. I'm trying to figure out the macro portion of it. Because like I'm gonna go in here and just mess with the button real quick to like you can change the mouse function. You can do those, that's fine. Keyboard function. It says key recording, alphanumeric function. Those are the F keys, okay. I don't know of a single keyboard that has F24 up to F24.
Wait, what? Oh, from F1 through 12 and then double it?
Yeah, basically.
Phew.
You can add that to a mouse button, a keyboard function on a mouse button, and it's F1 through 24. Include modifiers. Enable turbo. Turbo, I have a like. I like the idea of. I really do.
It's
Um,
good, especially for like first-person shooters if you want a double trigger
Mhm.
finger. But besides that,
Yep.
I've never found like no real use to it.
You know, when I first started fishing in Bless, it the when you get the left mouse button icon when it goes and it says okay now start fishing,
Mhm.
it's like it looks like it's clicking the left mouse button. So I was clicking all the time, or whatever. Yeah, I was clicking all the time. I was just rapid click. So I made a macro on my last mouse to just rapidly click the left mouse button, so I wasn't just wasting mouse strokes on my mouse.
Instead of holding it.
Yeah, instead of holding it, because it was flashing. The icon was flashing like go ahead and click. I'm like, oh, okay, click, 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 and then somebody says, I was fishing, and then somebody goes, oh no, you just hold it down. I'm like, oh, well, it does work. God dang it! So I quickly got rid of that mouse button.
What got me the first time was the right click and drag.
Yeah,
first
yeah,
time that
I love
popped up, I
somebody
was
fish with
like, what?
Yeah,
Oh, you have to drag it. I'm just clicking it like it's nothing.
yeah, you can't click and rub your mouse button in that direction. I gotta stroke my mouse button in the right direction, the left direction, down.
Like, why is it going up and down? What do I have to do? I just click.
Why does this feel oddly adult? I gotta rub a mouse button. Enter device. What? 2 or more Razer Synapse enabled devices are required for this feature. The frack? Okay.
Healing, it's too easy.
Switch lighting. Razer Hypershift. I can launch a program. I can multimedia, volume up, down, all that fun stuff. Windows shortcuts. Huh. Interesting. Ooh, now that could be handy.
What?
Launch the snipping tool. I use that shit all the time.
The snipping tool?
Yeah, have you ever used it?
For like taking out a picture of some sort? Like on your screen?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've used it occasionally.
I use that thing all the time. Especially when you can't like save copy and save a picture. You're like, yes I can. Snip. Tell me I can't.
Do you know who I am?
I shall not be denied.
Snip, snip.
But I do. I literally I have a Stream Deck and I have that as a hot button.
Ooh, you got a Stream Deck?
Yep. I got the small. I got the medium one. Well, there's the really large one now, and I had the one right before that, the big one before that. It's what, 15 buttons.
Things are clutch.
Dude, I love it. I would love to have gotten the bigger one had they had a bigger one at the time, but dude, I love this thing. I use it all. I have my my lighting set up to it. I have it where you can change the colors to it. Yeah, and I've got one of those Hue bulbs. You know, I forget who makes the Hue bulb. It's like dang it, go back. It's too small for me, but I forget who makes it. It's like Philips makes the light bulbs, and you just regular light bulb, and you can change the lighting color and stuff. Change the dimness. Those bulbs are expensive as shit, though. They're like, ooh, I can't remember now. I want to say there might be $50 a bulb.
For the Hue ones? The ones that like
Yeah,
dim
I
out
think
and
it's-
change colors?
Yeah, I got the ones that change colors. If you get the regular one, it's just a white bulb, and you can change how bright it is, and maybe a little bit of the hue. I think those are only like half the price, so like $20 a bulb. But I got like the ones with the colors because you can change like you can have a fun little room where it's like, you know, oh look, I got a red room now, I got a blue room, and whatever else. And the kid goes crazy for it. He always wants to come here. Can I change the color of the light? No, leave me alone. I want to change the color, Dad. Come on, please, please, please.
See, that would be completely opposite for me. Okay. That would be for
Well,
women.
I have the lights on every once in a while because the ambient light. Since I'm not streaming, I don't really turn it on all that much anymore. But like, yeah, I haven't streamed since just before COVID. And yeah,
It's about my time that I stopped. I should have actually just doubled down on it. Because everyone
Yeah.
was home.
yeah, pretty much. Like, hey, look at me.
I mean, everyone else is home now. I mean, is the pandemic still going? Like, are they still?
So I would say it's not even a quarter of what it used to be. I would think, but like nobody's in lockdown that I know of. There's no like now we're dealing with mask mandates or no mask mandates. It's like to me, and people get pissed off when I say this, but to me, I haven't heard anything that says this is nothing more than the flu that everybody's dying from because they're like, oh, it's the flu. Well, they in the numbers for the flu and COVID have where the flu numbers go.
Exactly.
They're mixing it all in, and they're yeah, it's media. It's a media blow up, and it's all political. It's the same fucking thing as the flu. In everything that I've heard, you know, when you compare data and you line up all the data points, it basically lines up to it's the flu, and that's the core message.
Yep.
And nobody was wearing masks for the flu. Oh, but it's not that. It's how contagious it is. Well, the flu is contagious.
Yeah. Like
Everybody got the flu vaccine.
And has nobody noticed that every 4 years some new virus is out? What was it before?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Swine flu,
Exactly.
and then
H1N1,
H1N1.
the avian, yeah, the bird flu, yeah, exactly. It's all political, and they were like, no, it's not. Okay, well, again, just take a step back, pull your head out of your whichever pocket that you want to say you're in, and say, and just take a step back. Like I don't even watch the news. The news is not news anymore. The news is shock radio on TV. That's all it is. They're shock jocks. That's all it is.
Media propaganda.
If you're saying no, there used to be a time where news was not allowed to use anything that was not legally true, like court usable. Like so, for instance, but because it didn't make any money, they switched because apparently the way I understand it is if you register as a news network, there are rules you have to follow. But because news doesn't make money, without it being oh my god, they said, well, we're not going to register as news, so we can say whatever we want and shock it up. And now we're listed as an entertainment network. I was like, oh wow, okay.
Red flag number one.
yeah, exactly. So before, if they said something false, they got heavily fined. Like if they just made something up, or if they didn't report something that was true, and it turned out to be detrimental to, like, say for instance, it was a business owner, and you said like a restaurant, for instance, and they said, oh well, this place has rats. Well, no, they don't. And now that you've said rats, they've lost all this business. You could get fined for all that. You can go to court over it, right?
Right.
But as an entertainment network, they can say whatever the heck they want, and it's like not legally binding. So that's their loophole, and they make money. That's what they went to. And if you said something false, you had to publicly retract it. You say, hey, you had to publicly apologize. You paid the fine, and that was some of it, right? So, but now they don't do that. They don't have to do that. And they use when I worked at the Pentagon, it was an admiral or a general. He's a 3-star, and he's like, he asked me one day, he goes, is this working, or is this going to work? And I'm like, it should, because it was to me. Well, no, because to me it was like nothing's changed. It was like it was working a minute ago. It should work again. Like I don't know why you asked me that. And because I said it should, he's like, I don't expect, how do you say it? He says, I don't accept weasel words. And I was like, what the fuck is a weasel word? He's like, could, should, why, might, maybe, I don't know, I think, I want to know yes or no, does it work? And I was like, well, yes, it works. Good. Okay, that's all I needed to know. And I was like, oh shit. And that's what the news should be. No weasel words allowed. How many times do you find any news, quote unquote, news network that says, we think, it should, they might, we don't know? If you don't know, you're not news. It's not news. I don't care what you don't know, right? I want to know the facts. I want to be able to judge. Yeah, and they should never. A news network should never say what they think you should do. Oh, we think everybody should go out and do this. We think this. I don't care what you think. I want to know what you know. Right? I want to be able to make up my own decision, not be swayed by your enthusiasm for something that's false. And I think every quote-unquote news network should not be allowed to use news in their title. Like the word news should not even be allowed in their naming or in their genre, because they're not. They're not news. It should be, Shock Fox or something like that, where it's
Fox.
like, yeah, exactly.
That's a good
Like,
one.
you know what I mean? Like, it should not be allowed to say that they're news, because it's not news. News, Gossip Fox or something. That's all it is gossip.
Backed up by evidence.
Picked and chosen evidence. Right? There was a good picture of it where it was like the news will show you what they want, and it was like what they showed on camera was somebody getting murdered. Like it was like this old school artist drawing, like very basic, and it was like in the frame of the camera it looked like somebody was holding a knife over somebody's head or something like that. And then but if you pulled back, like on the other part of the image, and it showed like there was two people just running from each other, and it was just the way that it looked, and it was harmless, but they showed that it was being deadly. Just like, for instance, it all depends on angles. There's another picture of Prince Harry, I think it was, the royal family, and it was like one of the princes from one angle looked like he was flicking people off, but from another angle he was like, his hand was a different gesture. I forget what it was, but it was like, that's the one they used. Was always upset. No, he's not. He was waving high, like something to that effect, And
They gotta get views.
exactly, and that's the problem. Is like they're putting their opinions out there, and they're steering people in the against each other. And you can't convince me otherwise, because to me it's plain as day.
The one thing I noticed, like as I got older, or just I'm getting older, it seems like the news and just anything online is more of an ad.
It is.
Like it's just all one big ad trying to sell you something, trying to tell you to
Uh-huh.
do this.
Yep.
And I just
Exactly, 'cause
stopped
it's-
even looking like online or just anything like that. It's just
Yeah.
surrounded.
I don't
by
even like using Facebook, but I only do it because I keep in contact with family.
I
Way
don't
more than.
I don't
Yeah.
even use Facebook after seeing their surveillance shit. But, nah, I'm good.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, and good luck trying to go and have a business outside of social media. Like, an entrepreneur can't do it. Not anymore. I don't see how they can do it unless it's grassroots. In which case, best of luck to them.
Basically, I gotta sell myself online,
Essentially,
or just keep playing the stock market. just
yeah, or that, yeah.
I'll just do it that way.
But yeah, you can't seem to. Oh, and the fun thing about social media and business online and ads on there, all that stuff. Did you know? You know what geofencing is?
That sounds very familiar.
Okay,
Right.
you know what geocaching is.
Yes, I know geocaching.
Okay, so same concept in a way, where it says, okay, this item is here, right? And if you go on GPS or whichever app you choose, you go to that item, find it, cool, take a picture. I don't exactly know how everything works, don't really care. But geofencing is let's use it for, there's a new dog collar out called, I don't know, Halo or something. I can't remember what it's called. You know what the electric fences are for dogs, like those hidden
Yeah.
fences? Okay, same concept, only there's no wire in the ground. It's geofence. So, meaning on your app via GPS,
It's like a certain
you can
barrier.
basically put a geofence on your property, right?
That's
So imagine go to Google Maps, put in the app, in the app for the dog collar, you say, okay, this is my backyard. Well, if they go past it, they get zapped, right?
Right.
So, same concept for businesses. If are you familiar with the app Waze? WAZE. It's a
The driving
driving.
one?
Yeah. So if you're local, if you have it, for instance, if you don't have it, go ahead, and I would suggest getting it anyway. It's a really good app. But it's user data put in. So if I see a cop, I put in there, hey, there's a cop here hiding. Right. And everybody around it can see it and they can avoid it, for instance, right? Or there's a pothole or there's something in the road, or there's a hazard or whatever it is. So it's a really good app that way. Plus, it helps you get around, clogged traffic and all that fun stuff. It's real time. But But that aside, if you're driving and you stop at a light, for instance, it goes and throws up some ads for local, wherever you are locally. So if you're in a new town, it's like, hey, by the way, if you like these things, go here. Well, for instance, say you own a bakery and you put yourself up online, and people see your bakery in the app or wherever else. Doesn't really matter if it's on the app or some other GPS location. Somebody else can put a geofence around your property and basically put their ads over your location to stop your ads from popping up.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's like
And if you're not-
extra marketing.
Exactly. And if you're not aware of it, you're paying for ads that aren't people aren't seeing.
How the fuck are they doing that though?
I don't know. It's not my genre. I don't know, but I know of it.
That's pretty good. Like bad for, of course, like the other business, but good for you if you do know how to do it.
Yep. And there are companies out there that pay attention to this, and you can go out there and look for it and say, hey, I got this. And you go to them, say, hey, am I clear? It basically is my airspace clear, and they'll go look at it for a fee. Yep, you're good. Or they'll say, hey, no, and they help you work with it or whatever.
So you could just
So, like,
technically
there's-
make a business geofencing or
Yeah,
anti-geofencing.
honestly. Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, that would be. Dude, he failed,
Right?
What did I fail?
Fail what?
I don't know. Quest
To heal somebody?
battles, some power needs rating is tagged. But I'm guessing.
I like the fact that I can use this mouse to do Windows shortcuts. That's awesome. I mean, most of them I already know, so I just inherently use them, but like I know how to cycle apps, switch apps, close apps. I have more keyboard shortcuts in my head than I have mouse buttons. Like for Mac and Windows, like it's ridiculous how much I use keyboard shortcuts, and it's even more crazy that I can remember them. So like when I think it was Payne was asking me yesterday, like why didn't I stay IT? I mean, I could easily go back.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot more.
Like-
I know you were talking about. Excuse me. I forget who it was that has their workstation right next to their gaming station. You can easily do
Guildford.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, probably should actually. I don't know. This one, it's to me, it's like a break. Like I've done this stuff for 20 years. It's like I like working with my hands, and I make stuff all the time here at the house. Like for instance, I make pens. I do wood turning, woodworking not so much, but I've got all the stuff now that I should be doing that. Like making my wife a bench that she wants, or she wants a planter stand and stuff like that. So I'm handy around like that, and that's actually how I got my new job. It was like I know what I'm doing, I just haven't done it in a professional setting. And they're like, oh well, if that's the case,
Why don't you just do your own business? Whatever you want. Start working for someone.
because the money's good, and it's not where I have to manage everything. Like for a job, basically, it's like I think I said it yesterday. It was like I have a catchphrase where it's one man, one van, one day install, right? So if you replaced if you said you wanted your bathtub replaced, I rip out the old one, I rip out the walls of it, ceiling if need be, and then I replace all of that with the new stuff. And apparently it'll be one day. I'll do it in one day. I would start. This is how the job was described to me. I have yet to do a single thing yet, but it was basically you come in at 7, dump off the materials from the day the job the day prior, get the new materials for the job to do, drive out to wherever it is, do the job, and go home. Right, however long it takes me, but it's going to be done in one day. Right.
Right.
And so he's like, sometimes you won't get home until 9 at night. And I'm like, oh, okay. And that's probably because of drive time and job time or whatever else. But so you're talking like a 12, 14-hour day. And I'm like, okay. And And he's like, that doesn't affect you? And I'm like, I just retired from the Navy. That was like my bread and butter was 14-hour days. Like, it's easy. He's like, all right. I was like, so it's not something really new as far as work hours. It is something new as far as, I don't have to worry about my email's broken. How come I can't do the printer? And then my favorite, I don't have to say the top phrase. Have you turned off your computer and turned it back on? Like, have you rebooted your machine? Like, that's like the fix for 70% of Windows problems.
Yeah.
And it was crazy is people with MCSE and above were like, yep, that's why. And I'm like, why is that? They're like, we don't know. We just know that it works. I'm like, I mean, I have an idea of how it works, but like, it just resets everything and clears out the caches and all the other stuff. But, I just don't have to, I wouldn't have to deal with that anymore. I get to hear people go, oh, wow, really nice job. And not bitch at me, Like I had an officer one time, priceless. And this is one of the stories I used to tell my students was like, I got to tell an officer that his wife doesn't love him anymore. Straight to his face. Oh yeah, and he was because he was being a complete tool. Like his wife, and I get why he did it, and we were on good terms after it. It was never a like ass chewing situation. I just kind of had to like mentally reset him, and so because he come to me, he's one of those guys that has a computer science degree and thinks he knows everything. And I'm like, he calls me up, and I'm working on the Exchange server, and I'm not doing anything that would take anything down. So he calls me and he's like, hey, IT1, I think the email server's down. And I'm like literally typing on it. I'm like, no, I'm on it. No, it's got to be down because I'm not getting an email from my wife. Are you getting email period? Well, yeah, but just not from my wife. Well, then it's fine. She just hasn't sent you an email. No, you don't understand. She sends me an email like clockwork every day at the same time. I'm like, okay, well, maybe she missed it. Have you tried talking to her, like on the phone or anything? Well, no, because we're underway and it's kind of hard for me to get on the sailor phone and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, well, if you're really that concerned about it, why don't you go ahead and give her a call? Oh, I just don't have time. I just need you to fix the email server. I'm like, I'm on it. It's not broken. And he was insistent, so much so that, because I was asking him questions. I'm like, well, maybe does she have like a job? Or is she pregnant? Or is she, and he's like, well, yeah, she's pregnant. How'd you know? I'm like, that's a question, but okay. I said, well, how far along is she? Well, she's like 6 months. I'm like, oh, well, she just doesn't want to get up and send you an email. No, you don't understand. I'm like, no, I do understand. How many kids? This is your first kid, isn't it? Yeah, how'd you know? Because I've got 3. Like, I know exactly what happens about that time. They don't want to get up and do anything. Right? And so he's like, no, that can't be it. And I'm like, well, maybe she just doesn't love you anymore, because I was just tired of dealing with him. And I didn't give a fuck anymore. If I got in trouble, I got in trouble, but I was just tired of dealing with him. I was like, well, maybe she just doesn't love you anymore. What'd you say? You can't talk to me like that. I'm like, I'll tell you what. When was the last time you actually talked to her? Like on the phone, via voice, video conferencing, what? Well, it's been like 2 months. I'm like, come on, let's go. Yeah. Well, we were underway, and the bandwidth is kind of limited, so it's like they only get a chance to use the sailor phones.
Right.
And so I said, well, all right, well, come with me. I'll take you to radio. Well, what is that going to do with anything with the email server? I'm like, for the last time, it's not the fucking email server, sir. Come with me if you want to talk to your wife. What do you mean? Look, I'm an IT. That's my job for communications. Bring your ass to radio or don't. It's up to you. But I'm going to put you on the phone with your wife. You can do that? You know what? Fine. I'm out of here. And I left. And he was right on my heels at that point. And I did. Put him on the phone. And he talked to his wife for like 2 hours. And he sorted out all sorts of issues just talking to her on the phone. And he comes to me afterwards. He's like, thanks, IT1. I really needed that. I really appreciate you, keeping me, knocking me straight. I'm like, that's what my job is, sir. Just, I'm glad to help. And he's like, all right. And he left. Yep. That was probably one of the most entertaining stories for students, because they were like, what, you can actually do that to officers? I'm like, yeah, if you're in if all the stars align, you can basically cuss an officer out. Like, I chewed out the CO before. Like, I'm talking like old school sailor style cussing out. And I don't remember a single word of it when I did it.
Just let it loose.
No. Well, yes, but I had been up for almost what? What's 4 days? 96 hours?
Yeah.
I had been up for almost 4 days straight.
Doing what?
And fixing a major system that the ship needs to basically survive. Our major defense. So it was like, okay, I'm fixing the system, and I was the only one that they trusted to do it. I had 2 other people that were okay, so one actually went to the school for it, and the other one taught me how to do my job before I went to school for it, even though he never went to the school, and he was pissed about it. They sent me instead of him for whatever reason. But so I came back and he's like, well, he went to school, so I can't be held liable for it. I'm not going to touch it anymore. And they went with it. They followed that. They're like, well, yeah, you can't say he knew what he was doing because he never went to school. So they put me on it. And the other girl, they didn't trust Magneto. Remember that?
Oh,
She was the other
God,
one.
not that chick.
Exactly. So they were like, yeah, we're not going to trust her on this one. So I was the only one to fix it, even though I had people that were qualified to do it. So I was up basically 4 days straight. I remember after day 2, I stopped remembering things after day 2. I do remember ducking shadows that weren't there. I was seeing shit.
Fun.
Yeah, and luckily they kept me from going topside. Otherwise, I probably would have gone overboard. But so apparently, and I do remember one time where I remember somebody said, everybody kept asking me, how's it going with the system? And I got so upset with it. I was like, if one more person asked me about this system, I swear to God. And after that, I don't remember what I said. But I do remember that feeling of saying that. Well,
96 hours, you can pretty much get away with anything.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I was literally waist deep in this machine, like I had ripped out parts of it, and I was like, I basically wedged myself into the rack. Imagine somebody sticking out of a dryer, right? Kind of a situation. Not that kind of situation, but you know what I mean?
Was it a server?
Yeah, it was a server rack.
Oh.
So I'm like, yeah, it's like waist high, and I'm like, my upper body's like all the way in the back. My head's in the back looking for stuff because I can't get around the sides of it. So I'm like in the back trying to dick around with wires, and I got a flashlight in my face or whatever, I'm doing all this stuff. And somebody asked me, hey, IT1, how's the server doing? Apparently that was the trigger that made me lose my shit. And the way the story goes, because I don't remember any of it. The way the story goes is I remember waking up. I finally got some sleep. And I woke up and everybody's like, oh, hey, Sleeping Beauty, how's it going? Now, mind you, come to find out, I thought it was like a Tuesday. And I felt like I got like a couple hour nap. Right. So I woke up and I'm still just beat. And they're like, hey, Sleeping Beauty, how you feeling? Whatever. All right, well, Chief wants to see you when you get a chance. All right, fine. So I go through my, do the morning routine, should shower, shave, all that fun stuff, and I get ready, I get dressed, and I go down to radio. And in between there, people are like, hey, Woldridge, how you doing? How you feeling? Like, I was like, it was strange. It was like eerie, the amount of times I was asked how I was feeling. I'm like, what is going on? And so Chief was like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, God, Chief, what's going on? Everybody's asking me this. And he's like, well, did you get enough sleep? And I'm like, I feel exhausted still, but why? He's like, what day is it? Do you know? And I was like, yeah, it's Tuesday. He's like, no, Thursday. I was like, oh, it can't be. I'm like, it can't be Thursday. He goes, oh, it is. But he goes, what's the last thing you remember before you went to bed? And I told him what it was, and he's like, that was like 3 days ago. I'm like, what? I said, what about this? He's like, the same day. That happened like 3 days ago. I'm like, that can't be right. He's like, well, have you seen Doc yet? I'm like, no, why? Nobody told me to go see Doc. He's like, okay, well, we're going to go see Doc real quick. And make sure you're clear to come back to work. I'm like, what? Like, what's going on? So we went to go see Doc. He's like, how you feeling? I'm like, God damn it. What is it with this feeling?
Another one.
Yeah, so basically what it was is he's like, you were asleep for 27 hours. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, you were awake for almost 4 days and your body just shut down. You needed sleep. So you were in bed for 27 hours, and I came and checked on you a couple times. And he says, you remember any of that? I'm like, nope. He's like, I didn't think you were. You were asleep. I'm like, okay. Well, what? How? What? And I'm confused. Well, he goes, so what was the last thing you remember? I'm like, why is everybody asking me what I remember? Like, what the fuck happened? Did I get like banged in the head or what? And I told him, and I'm like, no, okay. He doesn't remember that. That's normal. I'm like, what's normal? He goes, well, CO wants to talk to you. I'm like, okay. And me talking to the CO was not abnormal. I talked to that man pretty much every day. I gave him updates on networks and all this other stuff. So he and I had a daily conversation thing going. So it was not out of the ordinary. I'm like, okay, he's probably going to ask me about the system and whatever else. And so I said, I don't have an update for him. I got to go check on it. He's like, well, just go see him first. So he walked me to the chief, like basically escorted me to the CO's office and the stateroom. And so he's like, all right, chief, I got it from here. You can go ahead and close the door. And that was abnormal. Normally he had this door open just because he liked the door open. And he had that whole open door policy. But this time he closed the door. And usually that meant something was going on. And I'm like, please tell me I'm not getting an AMCROM. Like, please. I can't do this right now. And so he's like, how are you feeling? I'm like, oh, God, really? Okay, sir, you got to explain to me what's going on because I'm freaking out. He's like, what's the last thing you remember? I'm like, oh, geez. He goes, you don't remember having a conversation with me? I'm like, no. And he's like, okay. He goes, do you happen to have any family that's in the military? I'm like starting to sweat now. I'm like, yeah, why? You know, my dad was in the Navy. My uncles are all in the Navy. Like, what? He's like, okay, that would explain a few things. And I'm like, what? You mind just telling me what the heck's going on, sir? Because this is just getting ridiculous. And he's like, yeah, well, let me just start with saying you're not in trouble. I'm like, okay. Like, that's a good start, I guess. He goes, do you know what this is? And he told me a word that I don't remember what it is now to this day, and I've never heard it before, you know, prior to that I can recall. And he goes, well, you said that to me the other day, and it was not a nice word. Like, I don't even, I don't know how I heard it or where it came from. All I know is I said it to him. I cussed this man up down one side or the other.
Oh shit!
And I mean, I melted him with this. Like, boot camp didn't have shit on me. Like, like,
they get creative.
Like, it was like, oh yeah, it was very creative because he said you said some words that I now have in my repertoire that I had to look up. That I will use next time I chew somebody's ass. He goes, you made me feel like an inch tall. And all I asked you was, how is the system doing? And you just let loose. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, sir. He goes, I said, is it true that I was up for almost 4 days? He's like, oh yeah. And as a matter of fact, the only reason you went to sleep is basically because we ordered you to go to sleep. And then you bitched and moaned about that because the system wasn't up. But by the way, you actually fixed the system 2 days. Well, at that point, it would have been 3 days ago. He's like, you fixed it. You just never went to sleep. You were too tired thinking it was you still had to fix it, but it was already fixed. You did it.
Damn.
I'm like, what?
Damn.
He goes, he said, Chief kept trying to tell you to go to sleep, but you were like, no, whatever. You were all upset about it, so you just basically thought you still had to fix it, and it was already good. I'm like, well, damn. At least I can autopilot fix something. You know?
And then cuss out a CEO.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, I was like, you know, you stress cry. You're like, you're not even sad crying. You're like, oh shit, like you're so tense, like your eyes just water.
Yeah.
That was me. I was basically crying, like sitting there, like, oh shit, like I'm sweating. I had to go change. I just got a shower. I had to go change again because I was sweating so much. Because he told me this stuff, and I thought I was gonna lose my rank. I thought I was gonna get kicked out. I thought I was gonna lose everything. And he's like, but when he said, hey, relax, I told you you're not in trouble. I'm like, how can I not be in trouble? I let loose on you, and my chief is the one that pulled me off. It was like a dog, a dog fight, and he broke it up. And he's like, no, you had no idea what was going on. You were asleep. You were basically just sleep deprived. So I can't really blame you. It wasn't like you were doing it on purpose. I'm like,
basically
sir, I don't understand.
At that point.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't think you understand, sir. There's somewhere in me that if I can communicate with you, somewhere in there I was on purpose. He's like, yeah, but it wasn't like you chose to do it. Your brain, it was like subconscious. And he goes, so now I know kind of how you feel about me if I bug you about systems. I'm like, well, yeah, it does get annoying. And he's like, all right, I won't ask as much. I'll trust you that, you know, if you tell me it's going to be a while, I'll ask after that time.
After a while.
Yeah, after a while, not like before that. Before, because I hate that. If people say, if I say it's going to take me 4 hours to do something, it's going to take me. Well, I always overestimate. So, for instance, if I say it's going to take me 4 hours, it might only take me one, but I might have some reservations about how it's going to be done. So I'll give myself some extra time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that if I fix it first time up, hey, look, I knocked it out in an hour. I guess it didn't take me as long as it did before. You know, that way, you know, I'm not looking like a tool. I'm like constantly pushing back the times. And so if I say it's going to take 4 hours, don't ask me until. Hello, Blue Angels.
Blue Angels just went over?
Yeah, I live in Pensacola, and I live right near the base. And so Blue Angels literally fly right over my house.
That's legit.
Oh yeah, it's badass because I get to watch them they practice every day between like, what is it, like maybe 10:30 and 12:30. So they're constantly doing their air show in my area, and I don't have to go out my backyard to see it.
When I was in Memphis and flying out there, they actually came down to the strip when I was getting ready to take off. And I look up, I'm like, those jets look awfully familiar. And my flight instructor's like, they should, that's the Blue Angels. I was like, oh! Went over there and talked to them and like hung out. They came over to our fucking hangar. Dude, they're so legit.
Oh yeah.
Nicest people I ever met.
Yeah, I had a family member that I never really knew who he was, but you know, same guy with the same last name. He was I think number 5 years ago, because they rotate out of there after
Every
like a
couple years. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're constantly changing. But there was one time we had a guy with our last name in a pilot seat, and I want to say he was number 5 or 6.
Well, if he was in Memphis in like 2015, I probably met him.
Oh no, it was before that.
Yeah.
It was a while ago. It's like I don't even know if it was 2000 yet.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, it's a while ago. My sister kept better track of that kind of thing. I just, oh, that's cool. Whatever. Who cares? We got a bunch of family in the military anyway. Yeah. No, I love my time. You know, it's one of those things where most people I know, especially if they've been in any kind of time more than just 1 or 2 tours, they say, most people say they you know, if duty called, they strap on their shit and come back in, no problem.
Click on icon displayed. Not select.
Switch profile, switch lighting, razor hypershift, enter device, sensitivity, mouse. See, okay, so when it comes to macros, I don't see the ability to kind of, I want to say program is not really the word I want to say, but it kind of is.
You want to install?
It's like,
You want to install a macro into your mouse?
Kind of install or program, yeah, because like for instance, the G602, you can. I'm gonna open it up real quick. Where is my 602? There it is. I forgot to turn it on because I got the other one on. 2 mice controlling my computer. What? So with the 602, you can go in for every button, and you can say, okay, I want to assign a new command or edit a command, right?
Right.
And you can do a keystroke multi-key, where that one you can kind of like, and it will record the time in between. So if you know, for instance, like I played what is it now? No Man's Sky, right? There was a time where, and I'm sure it was a glitch, or maybe it was, you know, the time where they didn't really care. If you ever played No Man's Sky?
That's the one where you're in space, like doing a bunch of rocks and stuff, right? Going to different planets.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you can go from planet to planet, you know, from ground to space to ground, and not lose, there's no loading, right? So it's really cool that way. And if you go to these space stations, um, there are like basically three main races, and you can learn a word from each person in a space station one time. So your lingual skills go up a little bit every time, and you understand more of what they're actually saying as time goes on. And there's hundreds of words, and this stuff takes forever to get any kind of real conversation out of them, right? Well, there was one time where there was a particular character, NPC of this race that just kept letting me learn words. And I was like, oh shit, I'm taking advantage of this. And I essentially learned almost every word that they had because I set up a macro with my mouse, and it was basically if as long as I kept put my mouse in the right spot, I could assign a click time in there. I could assign keystrokes, all by the press of that button, and it would loop every so often. So it was like, okay, I'll keep it, and I got it down to a science where it was maximizing time, and not going too fast, and the macro didn't work. So I got it to where I just set it and forget it. I woke up the next morning, went to bed with doing it, and woke up the next morning, he was still doing it. Like, fucking hell, I had to have learned a couple hundred words. And sure enough, it was like 300 and something by the time I went through all the cues, because you have to, how it types it out.
Right.
Like you interact with an NPC, it spells it out, and if you click the button again, it speeds it up. Even with all that waiting, I had to learn, it was like 300 something words, which would have taken months to do unless I was just literally hopping from space station to space station, which isn't really doable. But yeah, so I learned almost every word that in their dictionary, and it was like that was one race. I was like, oh, okay.
How many races were on there?
How many bases?
No, races.
Races 3.
That's so much.
You basically start not knowing any of their words, and then you learn a word here, a word there. And per space station, depending on what race owns the space station, you might run anywhere between, I don't know, 5 and 20 of them in a space station. And so you figure if each one lets you learn a word, just 20 words a station, and you're not always back to back with these guys, so it's not you're going to go from one station to the next and have the same one. It just takes a long time, and God forbid if your standing's not good with them, because then they won't let you learn, and then you're kind of stuck. But the that one guy, and actually, so of course I now that I can talk to them and know what they're saying and actually get what I want out of them,
Right.
I basically align myself with them, and I tried to find the same thing that happened, and I think it happened with 2 races where I could find a guy that did that, where I just kept on loop. Some of them wouldn't let me learn as many words. Some of them would let me learn like 5 or 10 or more. So it's like I wasn't sure if I hit the jackpot with a 1, like I won the lottery with a voice guy, or what. But I was all possible because of the macro on my mouse. And the Razer doesn't look like it lets me do what the Logitech does, where I can actually edit commands. I can insert a mouse click. I can make it to where it holds that mouse button down. So for instance, fishing in Bless, where you have to hold the mouse button down, if I just click it,
it would register as being held.
If I could toggle it where it basically holds it down or lets it go, without actually physically having to hold my finger on it. Would that be the most ideal situation for that particular game in fishing? Hell no. But it could be done.
It worked.
Like I can do it worked. There's even Ventrilo buttons that are available in the command editor for, like, who uses Vent anymore?
Vent? Holy shit.
Yeah, Ventrilo, yeah.
I forgot all.
That's a function here.
That was like back in WoW days. Oh my.
Yeah, that was pre Discord, yeah.
Whew.
But that's apparently a program option in here. But it does shortcut hotkeys.
You should be able to do a macro though where you hold or press and then it counts as a hold.
Keyboard function. So let's see, mouse function.
That's it. Check mouse functions.
Left click. So when it comes to mouse functions, it does left click, right click. I don't even know what.
Does it give you an option for toggle and hold?
Let's just see. Left click and then enable. So no, not looking at the way I am now. It says mouse function, left click. There's double click. There's scroll up, down, left, right. Repeat, scroll up, down. I don't know what is the significance of just mouse button 4 and 5, but that's a thing. Especially when you have 12 on the side. I don't know why they specify 4 and 5, but scroll, click, right click. There's no, and then there's enable turbo. So it doesn't have the same style functioning that the software for Logitech has. Which is kind of sad, actually, because I actually use that aspect of it. Like, there's text function. Okay, well, if I need to press enter for typing, like if I want to spam I say spam, I would never really spam it, but if I wanted to do a quick recruiting text, like, I miss the chat type of EverQuest 2 because you could literally have different windows for different types of chat. So, for instance, if Guild Chat was over here, you could change the color of it. You could put just Guild Chat on one window. And you could put General over here, or the shouts, or whatever you wanted to pay attention to in their own little windows.
Right.
And if you wanted to, I believe I can't remember this, but I want to say you could assign a key to denote, hey, that's the one. So instead of hitting enter and just typing in something, you could hit like an F key, for instance, if you really wanted to, and it would go to Guild Chat, or it would go to whatever chat. You know what I mean? So you could hit that button, type, and hit enter, and it would go and send it. Well, that used to be I had it, but it doesn't really want to work. I think it's maybe an older version, or maybe it was meant for my Mac. I couldn't have been meant for a Mac. But it was those Nostromo pads, you know what I'm talking about? It's like a separate keypad just for your hand, and you could type in. It was kind of like think of like the pad on the side of the Naga, but it was ergonomically designed for your like left or right hand.
Okay,
and it
yeah.
was the same concept, right? And I would have, and if you've never seen a Nostromo, those things are awesome, because you could still do everything you normally do with your left hand, like WASD, but it also had kind of like a joystick option on it as well, and you could still basically do WASD with a D-pad on there. It was just so many buttons, but I got so used to it that it had like, I don't know, I'll say 30 buttons on the damn thing, and you could do the same thing where you could toggle between the profiles. So 3 times, so you had like 90 buttons essentially. But like, for instance, one was a recruiting profile, and I would go and I hit a certain button, and it would send out a message, a pre-programmed message, and that was it. That's all I had to do, and then move on and do whatever I was doing.